Okay, we're good to go. So I'm Janica Smith.
I'm Madison Hale.
I'm Cynthia Jansen. And that's David Walker.
And I'm going to say my name again because I don't think it caught it. I'm Janica Smith.
Perfect.
So, okay, who wants to go first?
Wait, can you guys hear me? I just want to make sure you guys can hear me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Okay.
can hear you.
Okay, perfect.
Yep. I'm not sure where David went. His microphone is muted and his picture's gone. Can you hear us, David?
Oh,
He said he was trying.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll go first.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, you can't make fun, right?
No.
Okay. All right. So, do I need to say my topic before I start? I don't know.
If you want to, sure.
Want to? Okay. My name is Cynthia Jansen, and I'm going to be talking about the effects of technology overload and how the government and we as people can help protect future generations from it. All right. I'm going to set my little timer here. Okay. Study after study has shown that excessive television viewing is associated with a cluster of unhealthy eating behaviors in U.S. adolescents. Youth can pack in a total of 10 hours and 45 minutes of media use in a 7.5-hour period due to using more than one medium at a time. This is in one day. More than half the homes in the U.S. have 3 or more TVs at their disposal to watch at any time any show that they would like. In a 2009 study, youth ages 8 to 18 who own a cell phone has gone up. Kids who have iPods or MP3 players has risen even more, and time spent on the computer has risen a half an hour longer on outside school use than in 2004. Almost 11 hours of our day is spent with electronic usage. The only other activity that we do more is sleep. Technology is at our very fingertips, and we are wasting this precious gift of technology on excessive entertainment and mind-numbing activities. The effects of technology overload can carry with us and our families for the rest of our lives. I propose working together to educate schools, parents, and families on the proper way to enjoy technology so we do not endanger future generations with a complete escape from reality in the technology world. Every moment we invest in high-quality educational television, games, and technology can help children and their academic goals. The government has already taken part in the protection of children from non-age-appropriate TV programs by requiring a V-chip to be on every television, and this began in year 2000. The government has required that all shows provide a rating so parents can provide parental controls over the TV viewed in their homes. But let's go a step further and educate families on the importance of limiting media and technology as to not overload and give children a chance to be children again. Let's help our children by setting limits. Setting limits does not mean eliminating. Everybody enjoys TV watching. We do as adults as well. But it does mean allowing your child's young, impressionable mind to be free to explore or engage in something else and perhaps something more meaningful. Those children who have electronic limits watch considerably less television than children that do not. Now let's move to commercials. Television commercials and other media advertisements target children by advertising junk food with fun characters that appeal to children. Time after time, it has been deemed unclear what precisely is false advertising toward children and how freedom of speech allows these advertisers to promote their product. I'm sure you've heard the phrases, "It's magically delicious," or "Hey, where's the cream filling?" and "Silly rabbit, tricks are for kids." These commercials target children directly, and the messages remain with our children. Youth in the United States are falling short of the recommended fruits and vegetables they should be eating on a daily basis and are consuming more and more junk food and candy. Television watching has been associated with unhealthy eating habits and can continue into adulthood. So let's educate parents and teach them to provide our youngsters with healthy alternative snacks if they insist on snacking while watching TV. But even better yet, eliminate eating while watching TV altogether and make eating in front of the television a rare but exciting treat. Let's give our kids a chance at being healthy and happy individuals by giving them the tools they need to develop healthy media habits. Educational media options are out there for our families. We don't have to toss our TVs out the window. 48 years ago, U.S. President Lyndon B. Johnson signed the Public Broadcasting Act of 1967. This act involves the government in the funding of quality educational television. Educational television, when introduced to preschool-age children, has actually shown to improve readiness in some children. Sesame Street, Magic School Bus, Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, and Little Einsteins are only a few of the educational TV programs that are available to kids at home. Watching these preschool and school-age appropriate targeted shows have actually shown to improve school readiness. This form of education is much more affordable and easily accessible than preschool for some families in lower income areas. So let's challenge our current broadcasting stations to provide even more educational options for children and support those stations that do offer quality TV and internet-based games for our children already. Ask for more options that focus on science, math, reading, and life skills that will help our children now and increase their likelihood for success in the future. Even with the increase in educational media, there is still a lot of harmful information out there that is detrimental to our children. The Children's Internet Protection Act was enacted by Congress in 2000 to address concerns about children's access to obscene or harmful content over the Internet. Schools and libraries have to certify that they have Internet safety policies in place in order to receive government funding and support. Since the rate of technology has increased in schools and education, these types of protections to ensure the safety of our children is vital. The use of mobile devices in the classroom may increase student motivation to learn and their engagement in learning activities. So we applaud the efforts of those publishing and pushing regulation of internet safety in schools. Children are motivated to be able to use electronics, and schools are taking advantage of this interest. Schools and libraries must do their part to keep internet safety policies in place, and it is our job to make sure we do the same in our homes. Technology is unavoidable in this day. It is truly amazing that we can video chat with friends and family around the world and stay connected in so many ways that were never possible or easily as possible before. The importance of knowing what technology is out there and the best ways to use it in our homes and in our families can be a great benefit to the rising generation. I'm asking you to educate your families, schools, and communities about setting limits, taking advantage of educational television, and encouraging learning in school through safe technology. This can help us connect with our families in more meaningful ways as we embrace the age of technology. And scene.
Good job.
Done.
Yeah, that was super good.
Oh, done. Do
Okay,
you guys have
so-
questions?
Are people able to hear me at all?
Yeah, we can hear
Okay, I'm really not familiar with this kind of technology.
you. No worries.
That's all right.
So does anybody have questions for Cindy?
I do. Is there recommended time limit for children to watch TV?
There is. They recommend no more than 2 hours of television watching a day or combined media use. So it could be an hour of TV and an hour of computer or 30 minutes. So it's combined technology use. But this is outside of school. So schoolwork doesn't count. So if kids are doing homework, that doesn't count.
Perfect. Thank you.
How would you address the increase of technology in the classroom? I know that there's a school district in my hometown that next year is going to 80% technology and 20% teachers. So how would you advocate in that sort of situation?
Actually, in the studies that I have found, it is going towards that direction where technology is increasing at the schools. But they found that it's actually helping the children. So technology in the schools, I mean, it's mostly all education. It's not really like video games where you're playing games, but these are educational games. So they found that it's good in the schools as long as it's properly monitored, like I said, with internet protection and safety for the kids.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So I guess I grew up a little differently, like very less technology. Uh, how do you think that much technology in the classroom, do you think that'll affect the children socially, like their social skills at all, like in any way? I guess I can elaborate if that's making sense.
Um, I don't know. It probably would. I didn't do research on the social part of the technology. My research was mostly on unhealthy eating habits, and I actually did the research on benefits of technology in the classroom. From what I have read, writing skills will probably go down, and handwriting won't be as precise and clean as it should be, perhaps, because kids are going to be typing more on the computers and less of writing. But I've never heard of 80%, like Janica, was it Janica that you said they're doing like 80% in one of your schools? Or was that Madison who said that? I don't remember. That's actually a lot of technology for a class. I think that's too much. But if you go by the studies, I guess they're trying to make it work.
I have another question. So in one of those videos that we watched, they talked about that lady that talked about like internet security and stuff. She said that most of these kids know how to get around these firewalls that they put up so that they can access Facebook or other social medias. Do you think that's going to be a huge issue with if they do, kids, are they going to learn as much because they're going to be distracted with other things?
I think that's a really good point. And the schools are required to have those safety nets or safety precautions from the internet. But if kids know how to get around them, I think it won't be helpful. Obviously, kids would rather be on Facebook and social media than learning their ABCs. But I think it will just require more teacher monitoring. And most of their use of technology is in the library, and they usually have a few people who walk around and make sure the kids are doing what they should be doing on the computers.
Mm-hmm. Also, to add to that, sorry, Cindy, not to
say more, but
great. I know that like my school, if the firewall was broke, the principal got like an alert, and that to prevent like people from outside trying to hack in. But if a kid tried to get out of it, then the principal was like notified. Anyway, and it was easy for them to track down. So I think that, not to overstep, but I think the more that they break out of it, the more the firewall's going to become stronger. I don't know. Would you agree, Cindy?
Yeah, I think the more the kids can figure out how to get around it, the more the adults, like you're saying, are going to figure out how to make it stronger.
Yeah.
Because even though kids are really smart, they are really smart. But I think there's people out there who are, this is their whole job, is to have internet safety. Like that's all they do, is to protect kids from the harmful effects of, obscene or those things on the internet.
Okay.
Good job.
Who wants to go next?
Yeah, I'll go next.
Very good.
Okay, mine's not going to be near as good as Cindy's, but we'll go for it. And I'm going to put this in front of you guys so I don't get nervous. Okay. I'm Madison Hill, and I wanted to start off with a little story to introduce my topic today. As my dad was rushing my 16-year-old brother to the hospital, he kept asking him, "What were you thinking?" My little brother kept responding through the tears, "I don't know." Apparently, my dad didn't understand what would cause my little brother to try and brand himself. What was he thinking, right? I'm sure many of us have heard this term a lot during our adolescent years or have repeated those same words to our own teens. Now, let me take a minute to explain what happened. We had just gotten home from Mexico, where my brother got his name in Mayan engraved in a little piece of metal. As he was hanging out with his friends, he had this great idea to brand himself with this metal inscription. As he was hanging out with his friends, they got a lighter and they heat up the piece of metal until it got real hot. Once they thought it was hot enough to burn the design into his skin, they stuck it to my brother's forearm. They didn't think that one all the way through. Research has shown that adolescent brains are being remodeled. This continuing development and maturation of the brain is mostly found in the prefrontal cortex, which is the regulator of thoughts and actions, making teens at an increased vulnerability to risky and reckless behaviors. They have a harder time controlling their strong impulses and consequently doing things without thinking of the long-term effects. At that time, my brother didn't think he would end up with third-degree burns or a scar that was 4 inches tall and 2 inches wide on his arm for the rest of his life. No, he just imagined a cool brand. He acted on impulse without any regard to the long-term effects. According to the Center of Disease Control and Prevention, risky behaviors can be anything from reckless driving, such as speeding and texting while driving, delinquent behavior, drug taking, and unprotected sex, and other behaviors that contribute to unintentional injuries and violence. Parents have legal guardianship of their children until the age of 18, unless you live in Nebraska, where that is age 19. Most states hold parents liable for their children until the age of majority, which is the 18 or 19-year-old age limit. U.S. legal defines parental liability as parents' obligation to pay for damage done by negligent, intentional, or criminal acts of the parent's child. They continue to state that in most states, parents are responsible for all malicious or willful property damage done by their children. According to the Office of Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention, many states like Florida, Idaho, Indiana, North Carolina, and Virginia require parents to reimburse the state for the costs that the state paid in association with youth in the state agencies. Other states have enacted legislation that require parents and their teenagers to participate in community service if the youth have been in trouble with the law, while others, like Oregon, Arizona, Florida, and a few others, require parents to attend counseling or other treatment programs that the court ordered. There are at least 36 states that have mandated some type of parental responsibility provision for parents with delinquent children. So, how do parents help their adolescents not engage in delinquent activities or risky behaviors? In 2 longitudinal studies of adolescent health, researchers found that adolescents who have good relationships with their parents are less likely to hang around peers who are a bad influence on them and have a higher risk of risky behaviors. These good parental relationships reduce the risk of premarital sex and also the risk of teenagers engaging in those risky behaviors. Parents, be involved. Know what your kids are up to and who their friends are. Be proactive in parenting your teens and not just reactive. Unlike my brother, I formed a good relationship with my parents, especially my dad. With all the changes in my brain, the onset of puberty, and the surge of new hormones, the relationship I had with my parents had a huge impact on how I navigated through adolescent years. My parents set curfews, boundaries, and expectations. While I fought them all the time on it, I am extremely grateful now that they set them and followed through with the consequences. Who knows what I would have gotten into without them. The thought of disappointing my parents led me to hang out with low-risk peers and not put myself in situations where adolescent impulses made me do dumb things. Helping youth stay safe and be productive citizens in the community starts at home or at the Theris Brundefender's microsystem level. Parents, you matter. Your job as a parent is so important and critical in your adolescent's life. Although you may feel they don't listen, they really are. They may fight you with the boundaries you set, but you are the reason they are staying out of trouble. Stay strong and follow through with the consequences. You are helping them through the remodeling of their brains, the influx of hormones, and all the other adolescent characteristics without serious injury to themselves or others. You are their teachers, their role models, and their protectors. Thank you.
Yay, good job.
That was awesome. Good job.
Great job.
Thank you. Do you guys have any questions?
I do.
Okay.
Um, well, first one's just kind of funny. Like, I have two daughters, so I'd love to know the secret of how you stayed close to your dad through all those changes. Something I worry about sometimes. But my real question for you, like, through your studies, like, what advice would you give to a parent whose children have strayed? Like, what do you think parents could do more effectively to like keep their children on that kind of more straight path? I guess.
That's hard. I think everything that I've read really talked about just forming that good relationship with the kid, and that kind of starts when they're younger. I know, like with my brother, that relationship was already kind of um, what's the word? I can't think of it. Anyways, it wasn't as good, and so my brother had a chip on his shoulder towards my parents, and my parents kind of had a chip on their shoulder to theirs. But it all just, if my parents were to step back and be like, okay, like I want my son to come back, I want him to stay on the right path. Maybe I don't know, just trying to rekindle that relationship is probably the best. I don't know.
No, good answer.
I have a question.
Okay.
Okay, so boys are more likely to get into trouble than girls. So how do you strengthen the relationship between a boy and their parents? I think it's easier for the girl to have a strong relationship with their parents than the son, and they're already more prone to accidents and bodily injuries
Yeah.
than girls are. So what are your suggestions in maybe taming the little boy who wants to jump off the roof so he can fly?
That's a great question. No, studies have shown that boys definitely have that tendency, like they have that personality for risky behaviors, that adrenaline rush. And so if you put your kids in activities like, I know in Idaho Falls they have a trampoline place, or it's called iJump. It's places where they can get that energy out and kind of get that. Or there's places I know in Ogden where you can do skydiving, but it's not really skydiving, like it's indoor skydiving. And they do some other things too. So I think if you put them in situations that are controlled, might help them a little bit too. But boys definitely do have a higher chance because that's just their personality. And um, yeah, does that answer your question?
Yes, so I have a follow-up question to that.
Okay, perfect.
What do you think? Do you think parents need to monitor their sons more than they monitor their daughters? Or do you think when you see that a boy has more risky behavior, they need to shadow them a little bit more?
I would think so. I know I hung out with some friends and those guys were crazy. And their parents didn't do anything, like their parents had no idea what was going on. And so I think if parents are involved and kind of know who their friends are and kind of what their tendencies are, they can set those limits and those expectations and really monitor them. I think boys do need to be monitored a little bit more for that reason.
Perfect. Thank you.
So I have a question that's
I'm
similar.
nervous about yours because you're the developmentalist.
Oh, don't be nervous. So contrary perspective to your argument would be that, kids can learn from their own mistakes, and that, my parents let me go out and do whatever I wanted so I'm going to let my kids do the same. Parents keep that mentality. So how would you account for those differences? Like, how would you explain to parents the importance of keeping tabs on their children?
That's hard because each parent, there's so many different parenting styles, and it's all, like you said, it's all about education and showing them that there really needs to be, they really need to watch their kids and be involved. The more they know, the better. Like if they know that they are held liable for all the damages that their kids do, that might like kind of wake them up and be like, shoot, I don't have money to pay for windows, or I don't have money for vandalism things. It might help them be more involved. Or like in that video we watched with that lady that talked about online safety, and you talk to your kids about that and you tell them your expectations for it, and you teach those parents that there are risks out there, because I think a lot of parents just don't understand the risks that are out there too. And so the more education of the parents, the better, and the more eye-opening that they get, the better that they can form their own opinion and parent.
Yeah, for sure. That's a good answer. One more. So,
Okay.
what about same-sex parents? Do you think that their approach is different because it's two males and two females? And how would that affect like the relationship with the child?
I will be honest with you and tell you I didn't study the same sex, and I should have. But I can imagine, there are differences between females and males, even in a same gender relationship. You're going to have moms that are more nurturing and more kind of protective, and you're going to have fathers that are more kind of laid back and let boys be boys type thing. So I think that I'm sure that there is a difference, but I'm not sure on that one.
Right. That's good. Anybody else have questions for Madison?
No, you did great.
You did a really good job. Good job, Madison.
Thank you guys. You guys are so sweet.
Okay. David, do you want to go next, or you want me to go next?
I'll be a little impolite. Do you mind if I go next? I think mine is like a lot different.
That's okay. Go ahead. You're good.
Cause I emailed her and she sent me back some different instructions, and I think it's a little different. So
Okay.
see. All right. Okay. So I'm gonna start. So I'm David Walker, and I'm happy to be on here. My topic tonight is one that's kind of sensitive in nature and may seem offensive to many for different reasons. I want to talk about pornography and my own encounters with it, and also a friend of mine's experience with it and the damages it caused for him. When I was growing up, we did not have the internet until I was almost done with middle school. So I never really had to worry that much about pornography or any kind of pornographic material. I didn't come into contact with come into contact with pornography until I was in the military. My squad mates in the Army would have pornography on while our commanding officers would do room inspections. They did this because the officers would stop and watch the pornography and not focus on the room or its cleanliness, so it was a distraction. It was not easy being subjected to it. Through my time in the military, I was exposed to a great amount of pornographic material and videos. For a lot of the guys in my unit, it was a way to escape the stress of combat once we were deployed. For many, it was also a bonding experience to watch it together. As you can imagine, for someone who didn't feel that way at all about any of it, it was very challenging to be in that area and be around it. A few times as a joke, my buddies would leave it playing in a room when I walked in, or something like that, and they really thought that was funny, but I didn't. But that was the culture of the military, and there was nothing I could really do to change that at the time. But I want to talk to you about a friend of mine who's succumbed to a pornography addiction. He's a great guy and someone that is close to me. He encountered very serious pornography when he was just 10 years old. A friend of his introduced it to him. As he watched and eventually began to act out on it, he went through a time when he thought he was homosexual. He told me that those feelings came from watching so much of the pornography. He told me that he wanted to experience what he had watched, and so he did. I did not really know he was struggling with these things, as he had kept them quiet, as is common by pornography users. Much of what they do is done in privacy and seclusion. After a while, though, he told me that it was not enough to just watch, but that he had done things that he was greatly ashamed of and had done all that he could to further his addiction. But unlike a drug, you cannot overdose or die from pornography as a potential end to it, so there's not an end in sight for many who go down that path. Just like how my friend was exposed at a young age, many children are being exposed to it, and it is easy to see that pornography is a much bigger problem now due to the internet making it so easily accessible. One study that I found that was conducted on just one adult site found over 183,000 videos with over 60 billion views. The study was done on a free adult website that is easily accessible. Pornography affects all who view it, as a study done in Switzerland it illustrates. Over a 25-year period from 1989 to 2014, um, the study conducted a survey of college-age females that were sexually active and found that over 70% of them watched pornography and 48% of them were affected by it and modeled it also in their own patterns of intimacy. Pornography is not a reality, even though many people view it as such. It shows a false image of what intimacy is, and when children and adults are exposed to it, it dilutes their self-image and oftentimes that of their spouse or their future spouses. My friend had a family while he was dealing with this issue. It nearly drove them to divorce, but for many others it does end badly. The American Journal of Family Therapy stated that pornography addictions cause harm to couples and to friendships and can even have negative social and even some economic consequences. You may be thinking that this friend is not real, that no one gets affected that badly. Well, that friend is real, and so is the threat that pornography poses. Like just today, I was on the web and on Facebook, in the little trending windows. It had two links to what I view as pornographic. One was to a Victoria's Secret model show, which, to clarify, I don't think that undergarments are pornographic, but a show that flaunts scantily clad women is. Second, there was a link to a famous female dancer who had died, and it kind of celebrated her life, which, you know, and that is just on Facebook. I was on YouTube and saw ads to pretty nasty videos. No one in my house subscribes to that, and it was just there as one of their suggestions. So you cannot turn on the TV or go on a public internet site without being accosted by pornographic imagery or links. And those weren't even that bad. There are many other types of ads and links that are much more trouble. I do not want to have what happened to my friend and his family happen to others. There are many advocacy groups that are against pornography, and even though the pornographic industry is clearly one that is um, successful and very powerful, we have the duty to protect ourselves and our children. Um, the laws that are out there against pornography are for minors, and that it is illegal for minors to be in pornographic material or videos. Um, but one of the troubles that was found with that is through the sex trade and its development that law is not being very well protected. There is a growing amount of evidence against pornography and the industry behind it that it is a detriment to society and to families. As advocates for the family, it is our job and our duty to fight against pornography and its evils. All of us have to take a stand of self-regulation and one of family regulation. If we can make a pledge that will do our part to fight off pornography by not allowing it in our homes, in our schools, or in our hearts. Because once pornography takes hold, it is a slippery slope that only goes downward. Please help us protect our children and our families. Thank you.
Good job.
Yeah, that was great.
I got an email kind of explaining it to me differently because I wasn't really sure what she was asking. I'm like, I don't know if it worked that well, but that was what I thought.
No, that was really good.
Yeah, you did great.
Did you, in your studies, did you find anything about girls in pornography? Or not in pornography, but watching pornography? Because
Yeah. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, because in my stake, one of the issues that they brought up with, because I'm a young woman, so one of the issues that they brought up with us leaders is that some of these that there's a huge pornography issue with some of these girls, and that's a lot of them in our stake have come forward, and to me that like that was never an issue when I was growing up, and same with the other leaders, like that was never a thing, and so it's hard for us to like help these girls when we didn't even know that was a huge issue. But I was just curious if it's a growing number, if you know anything about it.
Yeah. In some of the studies that I found, it talked about how men are just more open with it in a sense, and that they like only so out of a study only like 48% of men said they viewed pornography openly, and only like 28% of women did. And they thought the number was higher, but they believed it was because women just kind of felt more shame about it than men. Like in the military, it was like um, just to be clear, like I never intentionally watched it, but like in the military, it was a status thing among the guys, like what you watched, what you had, like, um, so I think women do watch it, but um, yeah, so another thing that was kind of interesting was about how they mentioned couples. So a lot of people think that couples who watch it um, have better relationships, and when they did studies on it, they found it was the exact opposite. Like it destroyed relationships. But anyway.
That's good. I just think it's interesting, like the essential, like media totally just desensitizes everybody about pornography. Like the TV show Friends, I just rewatched that with my husband over the summer, and they were all for like the girlfriends are buying pornography for their boyfriends, and it was like they would sit there and watch it with him, and so like media really is just like kind of stepping back and kind of just being like it's okay, like it's kind of a norm, and I think that is so bad, and so I've really liked your topic.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, it was like in the military, it was just a norm, and that's a lot of way the media is watching it now. I watch a show, Psych, it's not on air anymore, but like in that they make quite a few jokes of like, oh, you're